ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి, జేఈఈ అయినా, నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
Today's topic is states of matter. This is new topic in the first year. So far we have completed atomic structure, periodic table, chemical bonding, and this is the fourth topic, states of matter. Let us begin. Now we have already studied that matter exists in three different physical states. Matter is anything that has mass and occupies some volume. So matter exists in three different physical states, right? Namely they are solid, liquid and gas. So on what basis we are classifying matter into solid, liquid, gas? What is the criteria? What is the basis? Now the answer is, it is based upon the computation between intermolecular forces of attraction, IMF here, intermolecular forces of attraction versus thermal energy, TE in shortcut, thermal energy. What is thermal energy? It is the energy possessed by the object or body because of its movement, by virtue of its movement, nothing but kinetic energy. So thermal energy depends on temperature. It is directly proportional to absolute temperature. It is the measure of average kinetic energy. Once again, so the classification is based upon intermolecular forces of attraction versus thermal energy. Thermal energy is the energy which a body or object possesses because of its movement, nothing but kinetic energy, which you have studied in physics. So thermal energy mainly depends upon what? Temperature. More the temperature, more is the kinetic energy or thermal energy. So it is a measure of average kinetic energy. This point we will study in the subsequent discussion. Alright. So let us come back to intermolecular forces. Intermolecular forces. Intermolecular forces are two types. They may be attractive forces or they may be repulsive forces. Intermolecular forces that operate, that present between the interacting particles. Generally I say particles. The meaning of particles is usually it can be atom, molecule. For example, it can be atom or molecule. So intermolecular forces present or operating between interacting particles. Interacting particles can be atom or can be molecule. Intermolecular forces present between atom or molecule, they can be attractive forces. So intermolecular attractive forces, or they can be repulsive forces, that is intermolecular repulsive forces. So intermolecular forces are two types, attractive forces and repulsive forces. The attractive intermolecular forces, we call them as van der Waals forces. Attractive intermolecular forces are known as van der Waals forces. This is the name of a scientist. So attractive intermolecular forces or intermolecular attractive forces, we call them as van der Waals forces. These van der Waals forces are simply attraction between any two surfaces, right? But depending upon the magnitude of energy involved, they are further classified. I repeat, depending upon the magnitude of energy involved. what do you mean by magnitude of energy involved? For example, suppose if I am joining these two hands, there exist van der Waals forces because this has some surface, this has some surface. The energy required to separate them, is very less. Similarly, I can take two papers, take any two surfaces, there exist van der Waals forces. But if I apply some oil or water and place the paper, I have to apply more energy, slightly more energy. It is also a kind of van der Waals forces, right? Depending upon the magnitude of energy involved, again van der Waals forces can be further classified. So, what are they? They are dispersion forces or London forces. London is the name of the scientist who proposed this force. So, it can be dispersion or London forces. It can be dipole forces. You might have studied the meaning of dipole in chemical bonding. Next, dipole induced dipole attractions. So, depending upon the magnitude of energy involved, again van der Waals forces can be classified into dispersion or London forces, dipole forces, dipole induced dipole attractive forces. So, remember van der Waals forces are attractive forces, they are always attractive forces. Apart from this, here we do not include, so I am writing excluding ion-ion interactions, ion-ion interaction means, for example, the attraction between a positive and negative. What kind of attraction exists between them? Electrostatic forces. Electrostatic forces, they are much stronger forces, you require more energy to separate them. So, these forces are not included, they are simply physical kind of attractions which includes less interaction energy, but here interaction energy is high. So, these van der Waals forces or attractive intermolecular forces do not include ion-ion interactions or interactions due to electrostatic forces, simply the attraction between a positively charged ion and negatively charged ion. It also does not include ion dipole interactions because the magnitude of energy involved is high. So, excluding these interactions, ion-ion bonding or ion-ion interaction, ion dipole interaction, they are not included under van der Waals forces. However, there is one exception here, hydrogen bonding. Is considered as a special kind of dipole-dipole interactions. Why we study separately? Because this hydrogen bonding is shown by very few elements like hydrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, fluorine, hydrogen, nitrogen bonds, not shown by all, whereas van der Waals forces exist between any two surface, but hydrogen bonding is shown by only few elements. So, here only few molecules, therefore, there is one point. Next point is the interaction energy involved is high. It is around 10 to 100 kilojoules. At room temperature, there is some certain amount of energy is available. For example, if I am standing here without just I am running outside, you can see that you will be sweating. The sweat is because of the temperature, right? The temperature provides some certain amount of energy. So, at room temperature around 20 to 40 kilojoules. How much amount of energy? 20 to 40 kilojoules of energy is available. Kilojoules per mole of energy, this much amount of energy is available. But to break a hydrogen bond, you require much higher. It lies between 10 to 100. So the energy that is available at room temperature is not sufficient in some cases to break hydrogen bonding. But mostly to overcome the van der Waals forces, if it usually involves weak attractive forces, the energy involved is very less, around 5 to 20 kilojoules, right. So that is why we call it as a physical kind of attraction or weaker attractive forces. Here coming to here, excluding interactions like ion dipole, they involve much higher energy which is not available, which cannot be provided by the energy that is available at room temperature. This much energy is available at room temperature. So if the energy required is less than this value, then it can be easily broken. But if energy required is greater than this, then you have to supply that extra energy. One example is hydrogen bonding. So we will study this again. So let us come back to this point. Attractive intermolecular forces, nothing but van der Waals forces. Depending upon the magnitude of interacting energy, it is further classified into dispersion, dipole, dipole induced dipole. So we will see one by one. So first one is dispersion or London forces. Dispersion forces or London forces. So which type of particles show this type of interactions? The answer is atoms, non-polar molecules. So dispersion forces, they are present in atoms or non-polar molecules. So let us try to understand actually what is dispersion force. Let us take an atom. If I take an atom here, right. The positive charge is concentrated at the center, which we call it as nucleus. Electrons, they are distributed as charge cloud, electron charge cloud. Electron charge cloud, right. So the positive charge is concentrated at the center of the atom, and the charge, electron charge, the negative charge is distributed as electron charge cloud symmetrically. So it has electrically symmetrical distribution. If I take a neutral atom, this is a situation where the positive charge is concentrated at the atom and the negative charge in the form of electron charge cloud is symmetrically distributed around the nucleus. So electrically symmetrical. Atom or non-polar molecules, they have electrical symmetrical arrangement. Because of this, see here, the total positive charge equal to total negative charge. So we call it as, that is why we call it as neutral molecules, neutral particles, right. Therefore here they do not possess any dipole. You know the meaning of dipole, right? No dipole. They do not possess any dipole. Dipole means like charge separation. So no dipole. They do not possess any dipole. But let us imagine a situation. Here I am taking two atoms. Say this is atom A, this is atom B. I am taking two atoms. They are present close to each other in the close vicinity, right? Let us assume that they are very close to each other. Because of some external force, externally, right? Because of some external disturbance, this symmetrically distributed electron cloud becomes unsymmetrical. Let us imagine a situation where the symmetrical distribution in atom A is disturbed in such a way that, right, dipoles arises. That means the negative charge which is symmetrically distributed around the nucleus is concentrated at one end. Say the positive charge is present here because of some external force, let us assume, because of some external disturbance. The negative charge is concentrated at other end. So, because of, so here we have charge separation, positive end is concentrated at one end, negative charge is concentrated at the other end in the presence of some external force, which we call it as polarization. So, the dipole movement is indicated in this direction from positive to negative end. Once again, we have taken two atoms closer to each other, atom A, atom B. In the absence of any external force, the positive charge is concentrated at the center and the negative charge, that is electron charge cloud, is distributed symmetrically. Therefore, it is a neutral atom, electrically symmetrical without having any dipole. In the presence of some external force, let us imagine that the electron charge cloud becomes unsymmetrical. That means the negative charge is concentrated at one end and the positive charge is concentrated at other end. This we call it as polarization, right. So, it poses some dipole, right. It is indicated by this arrow mark starting from positive end to negative end. So, see the difference. Here it does not possess any dipole. Here it poses dipole because of in the presence of some external force. So, as long as this external force is present, this charge separation will be present. So, if I remove this, again it come back to its normal position. That is why this charge separation or this dipole that is generated is momentarily, is instantaneous dipole at that point only, or you can say temporary. Instantaneous dipole, right. So, if I remove this external force, this charge separation will become normal. That is why we call this this dipole as temporary dipole. Temporary dipole. So, instantaneous dipole in atom A in the presence of some external force. So, let us assume that atom B is present as such. Now, here atom A has some temporary dipole. Since they are closer to each other, this dipole causes the electron charge cloud to become unsymmetrical, because this negative end will attract the positive end towards it because they are very close to each other. So, a temporary dipole is induced in atom B as it is closer to atom A. This is the direction of dipole. Now, this negative part of the dipole in atom A having temporary dipoles, right. Now, the negative part of atom A attracts the positive end of atom B. the attraction between these temporary dipoles. Why I am calling temporary dipoles? Because this is in the presence of some external force. If I remove this, they lose this charge separation and they convert back into their normal neutral position. So, the attraction between temporary dipoles of atom A and atom B, we call it as London forces or dispersion forces. It was proposed by Fritz London, F-I-R-T-Z, Fritz London, right? Hence, it is named after him as London forces. They are also known as dispersion forces. Remember, what kind of molecules or particles are involved? Answer is atom and non-polar molecules which do not initially have any dipole. The dipole is induced in them by external force. So, that is why we call it as temporary dipoles. Now, this charge separation is not complete or the dipole moment is very less. So, the attraction between them is also less. One more point, it depends upon the distance. If distance of separation between atom A and atom B is more, then the attraction between them will be less or the energy required to separate them will be less. Right. So, the interacting energy, that means the energy that is holding these two because of temporary attraction between temporary dipoles, right, that interaction energy, if I want to separate them, I have to apply this much amount of energy, some interaction which we call as interaction energy. The interaction energy is inversely proportional to distance of separation, right. Distance of separation is represented with the letter R, is found to be inversely proportional to R to the power 6. This bit they asked in JEE mains exam once, so that is why you have to remember this, right. So, there is attraction between negative N of atom A and positive N of atom B, which are temporary dipoles. This attraction we call them as London forces. To separate them, you require some energy. That energy we call it as interaction energy. The interaction energy between these two temporary dipoles depends upon the distance also, depends upon the magnitude of charge. If distance is more, then the attraction will be less. That means interacting energy will be less. So, the interacting energy is found to be inversely proportional to R power 6, where R is distance of separation, this distance of separation. This is nothing but interaction R. So, these forces operates only for short distance. They operate only for short distance, approximately some 500 picometers. Already we have studied the meaning of picometers in atomic structure. 1 picometer equal to 10 power minus 12 meters. So, it is very small distance force and very weak force. The second one is dipole-dipole interactions. Dipole-dipole interactions. What kind of particles show this type of interactions, or this type of interactions are found to be present in polar molecules? What is a polar molecule? Let us take an example, atom, say molecule AB. You have A and B. So, A gives one electron, B also gives one electron. This is the bond between A and B. Let us assume B is more electronegative than A. We are assuming that electronegativity En of B atom is greater than electronegativity of A atom. I repeat, electronegativity of atom B is greater than electronegativity of atom A considerably. Then what happens? Since B is more electronegative, it pulls these two electrons more towards it. That means it pulls its electron as well as the electron of atom A. That means B is gaining more electron share. It is gaining the electron share of atom A. It is gaining the electron density of atom A. Thereby, it gets partial negative charge, since it is gaining the electron density of atom A also. Since A is less electronegative than B, it is losing its electron density to B. Electron carries negative charge. Since it is losing electron density, right, that means it is losing negative charge. Therefore, it must carry partial positive charge. Why I am writing dou? Dou indicates partial charge. If it is completely developed, instead of D plus, I will use plus. Instead of D negative, I will use negative. So, this is complete charge. This is partial charge. Why we are saying partial? Here, the electron density spends more time around atom B. The electron is not completely transferred. In the case of NaCl, if I take NaCl, the electron is completely transferred to chlorine. That is why chlorine gets negative charge. The electron of sodium is completely transferred to chlorine. Since sodium is losing electron completely, it carries positive charge. But here, the electron density spends more time near atom B. It is not completely transferred from atom A to atom B, right? That is why we have to use partial charges. Right, let us come back. We have taken a molecule, right, involving atom A, atom B. Atom A gives one electron, atom B gives another electron. Let us assume, we have assumed that electronegativity of atom B greater than electronegativity of atom A. Since B is more electronegative, it pulls the electron density from atom A. That means these two electrons spend more time around atom B. Since it is gaining more electron density, it is gaining electron density of atom A also, therefore it gains partial negative charge. Atom A is losing atom A is losing its electron density, right, for time being, therefore it gains partial positive charge. Now these charges, they are present with the molecule. They are not arised in the presence of some external force. They are present because of the difference in electronegativity of atom A and atom B. Such molecules are said to possess permanent dipoles. They possess permanent dipoles. Such molecules, we call them as polar molecule. Let us take one example. Hydrogen chloride, HCl. Chlorine gives one electron. Similarly, hydrogen gives another electron. But we know that electronegativity of chlorine is 3.0 on Pauling scale, whereas that of hydrogen is around 2.1, let us say. So, it is clear that chlorine is considerably more electronegative than hydrogen. Therefore, it pulls this electron density, the electron density of hydrogen towards it. That means these two electrons spend more time around chlorine. Since chlorine is gaining electron density of hydrogen also, it gets partial negative charge. Hydrogen being less electronegative loses its electron density, gains partial positive charge. Therefore, this is the dipole movement direction, indicating this arrow mark should point towards more electronegative atom or towards negative charge. So, dipole-dipole interactions are found in polar molecules or molecules having permanent dipole. They must possess permanent dipoles. If I take two HCl molecules, hydrogen, chlorine, hydrogen, chlorine. Based upon this same charge, it gets partial positive charge. It gets partial positive charge. The attraction between the negative end of HCl and positive end of another HCl, we call it as dipole-dipole interactions, dipole-dipole attractions. Since they possess permanent dipoles, it is a stronger force compared to dispersion force. Dispersion force, there also will get dipoles, but the magnitude of charge depends upon external field and it is a temporary dipole, right. So, compared to dispersion force, these attractions are much stronger attractions. But when I take ionic attractions, say Na plus Cl minus, ion-ion attractions, these dipole-dipole attractions are weaker compared to ionic attractions because they have completely developed charges. Here you have only partial charges. So, the magnitude of charge also plays an important role. The interacting energy depends upon this, upon the magnitude of the charge. Here you have completely developed charges, here you have partial charges. So, dipole-dipole attractions are weaker attractions compared to ion-ion interactions, right. Anyway. So, here the interacting energy that means energy required to overcome this attraction is found to be inversely proportional to distance q in stationary molecules. Stationary means the molecules which do not move, stationary molecules like solids. Example, solids. The interacting energy is found to be inversely proportional to cube root of r, where r is distance between the interacting particles, right. In case of stationary molecules, example solid, the molecules or atoms, they should not move from their position, and it is inversely proportional to r power 6 in case of rotating polar molecules. Here the molecules can move, here the molecules do not move. So, once again dipole-dipole interactions are act between polar molecules having permanent dipoles. The permanent dipole are found in the molecules, right, where there is considerable electronegativity difference between two atoms. Next, the third one is dipole induced dipole interactions or attractive forces. So, dipole, that means a molecule must possess permanent dipole. So, which molecule possesses permanent dipole? Polar molecules. Induced dipole, that means the dipole is induced, developed momentarily, instantaneously or due to the presence of some external force. So, this happens in the case of usually atoms or non-polar molecules. So, it is simply interaction between a polar molecule with a non-polar molecule or you can take atom. So, let us take one example. We have a polar molecule, say atom A, atom B bonded with B more electronegative, A less electronegative. So, you have a molecule with some permanent dipole. and you have some another molecule or atom, let us say, which doesn't have any dipole. Let us say like this. Some atom, no dipole. So if they are brought closer to each other, in the presence of this molecule having permanent dipole, it induces dipole in this neutral molecule or atom. How? By making the electron charge cloud unsymmetrical. Here you have symmetrical distribution in the presence of this polar molecule. Say it is near to this negative end. Then what happens? It polarizes this atom in such a way that the positive charge is pointed towards it, the negative charge is away from it. So the dipole is induced in this neutral atom or non-polar molecule. So it has induced dipole, whereas this has permanent dipole. Now the attraction between these two ends, we call it as dipole induced dipole attraction. Dipole induced dipole attraction. So for that you require a polar molecule and non-polar molecule or a atom which are neutral in nature. So coming to hydrogen bonding. It is a special type of dipole-dipole interactions which are shown by few elements. So the requirement is one of the element must be hydrogen, other must be small and highly electronegative element. Small and highly electronegative element. So the molecule which have these bonds, hydrogen, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, fluorine, they may show hydrogen bonding. Let us see some example. If I take hydrogen, nitrogen, example ammonia. So nitrogen more electronegative, carries negative charge, hydrogen carries positive charge. Here also you can write positive charge. This is hydrogen bonding, attraction between negative N and positive N. Here also you can write for these molecules. It goes on. If I take water, OH bond, water. So there is attraction between negative end of one water molecule and positive end of another water molecule. So I am writing directly. It goes on. Similarly, I can write for HF. One example HF. Hydrogen positive charge, fluorine negative charge, another molecule. Positive charge, negative charge, it goes on. Here hydrogen bonding is a special type of dipole. So this is a polar molecule, this is also polar molecule. Attraction between one end, negative end of water molecule with positive end of another water molecule. Here also same way, one end and opposite end. This dipole-dipole interaction we call it as hydrogen bonding. It is shown only by few elements, right, which contain hydrogen and one of these element, small and highly electronegative. Why small and highly electronegative? Because they have to polarize, they have to gain the electron density from hydrogen. If the size of the element increases, then its electronegativity decreases. It do not pull the electron density with such with such intensity which can develop this partial charges. So we require small and highly electronegative element. So apart from this, you can see chlorine also. Chlorine size is little large, so it's very rare. Apart from other, if I take other elements, their electronegativity is much less. They cannot polarize the bonded electrons with hydrogen. Okay. Now, the energy involved in hydrogen bonding is very high, 10 to 100 kilojoules per mole. As I said earlier, around 20 to 40 kilojoules of energy is available at room temperature. So this is room temperature energy, RT, room temperature energy. This much amount of energy is available at room temperature. This energy is not enough to break some of the hydrogen bonds. So hydrogen bonding is a stronger bonding, right? So that is why it is studied separately.